Welcome back to the Money Wisdom Podcast, powered by Johnson Bernetti. My name is Jake Dozer. I'm a certified financial planner here in our Connecticut offices, joined, of course, by my partner in crime, Nick Colantuono. Nick, will you tell everyone about your fancy letters behind your name, please?
I will, Jake. Thank you. Viewers, listeners, welcome back. As always, I'm Nick Colantuono, your co-host up here with my friend Jake. I'm a certified financial planner up here in our Boston, Massachusetts offices. So it's getting cold, Jake. It's getting cold.
It's probably colder near you in Boston than it is here in Connecticut.
We're on the ocean over here. So makes us all think about these bucket list things we want to do in retirement. Where are we traveling? Because everybody's looking to get out of Dodge this time of year. That's for sure.
What an excellent segue. It's as if we don't wing this. Today's episode really is all about retirement and wanting to have bucket list items that you check off the list. You know, I think it's important to recognize how such bucket list items and enjoying retirement translates to your financial plan. I think, Nick, I'm curious if this is what you find. I find that more often than not, people, especially of this generation that we serve, which is most often baby boomers and transitioning into Gen X, is there's an underlying sentiment where it's a little scary to retire. Specifically, there's a lot of reasons there, but it's a little scary to retire and spend your money because it's always in the back of my mind, is this the expense that's going to trigger me running out one day?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think that it's important. We want to talk about some bucket list things we've seen people enjoy, but I think it's important to understand the psychology behind what is hindering most often people from doing those bucket list items. And then also understanding how a proper plan implementation can give you the freedom to spend within a responsible context. So let's start with the fun part. Let's talk about what are some of the bucket list items that you've seen your clients enjoying? What has that manifested in your space?
Yeah, it really, it's a delicate balance. And I think what it comes back to is our clients are now retired, or the clients who have retired are now retired, and they find themselves with time to do all these things that they've wanted to do.
Right.
And you realize how long, your period of working life is. It can be 30 years. And over that period, trends and fads come and go, but, you always have those sort of underlying, feelings of, I always want to do this, or I want to do that, or I want to do that. So travel is, one of the biggest things. That's probably the biggest opportunity that a lot of our clients have when they now have the freedom of no longer having to go to work Monday through Friday. So, traveling is good. I was meeting with a woman last week, Denise. I think she listens to the podcast. So Denise travels all the time, and she's still working. So I can only imagine what retirement is going to look like for Denise when her freedom of time is just, exponential compared to what it is now. Now she's got a daughter who lives abroad, so that's sort of an anchor for her. She can go and visit her daughter, and she does pretty frequently. But even her and her daughter, just to kind of tap into the mind of someone who lives abroad, her and her daughter are traveling all the time. And I'm talking about like world traveling. So, that's just one example of what having more time allows you to do. But, I was also talking with another client of mine, George, and he was saying to me, Nick, the scary part about retirement is not, the idea that I'm going to, stop earning money. He goes, the scary part about retirement is that I now have to start spending my money. And, so again, it's this delicate balance. Like I said, Denise has all the time in the world. She loves traveling. She does it all the time. She's accustomed to that. She's used to that. She often had a paycheck coming in to support a lot of that. Yeah. And for George, it's the opposite, right? He never really traveled. He never really, got out that much. And now he's looking to do it. So for both of these people, they're approaching it from a very different standpoint. Thankfully, they're both working with us where they have plans in place and they know that they can afford whatever lifestyle they're looking to have in retirement. But it's such a delicate balance. But to go back to your question, Jake, as far as these bucket list items, travel is obviously top of the list. I've got some crazy stories. I'm sure you do as well.
I'm thinking I've got some clients who in the past 18 months, I'll call them John and Betty for sake of anonymity. But they've they've traveled multiple times down the eastern seaboard to see family. They just got back from a trip in Europe where they sent me a photo via email up in a hot air balloon. Bucket list item for me. I've always really wanted to get in a hot air balloon. I don't know why. They
Mhm.
told me all about it. They said it was the highlight of their trip. Up in a hot air balloon, thousands of feet in the air, whatever it may be. Maybe it's hundreds of feet. Who knows? That tells me my hot air balloon ignorance. And then about a year prior, they took a trip to New Zealand. What an amazing trip. They toured the country, were able to see some beautiful sights. They told me that getting there was a jaunt and a half. But those are some of the most amazing stories I get to hear. And for us to be able to facilitate helping them get there in our small part, but making sure that they know how to spend that money, where to get it from, what funds to sell to get it, how to pay the right taxes, et cetera, is really an honor. But you're right, travel is a huge one. Another one that I see often is hobbies. Checking that hobby list item off. I'm thinking of a client, his name is Brian, and he retired, and a month later, he sends me a picture, and I don't remember what year it was. It was a 1950 something, and it was an old school Chevy truck that he had bought. You would see this on, some sort of commercial at Super Bowl or something, just a classic car. And he takes a picture and he emails it to me. And he's like, thanks for helping me retire. This is my new, part-time job. And
Nice.
he's just
Yeah.
loving it. His wife probably isn't loving it, but he's loving it. So travel, hobbies are
Mhm.
a big one.
Yep.
I
Community
we see a lot of
involvement,
our
volunteering.
yeah,
You can probably see this a lot in the communities you're involved in, but we've got clients who, they're volunteering all the time, whether it's boys and girls
yes,
clubs or at their church or their religious organizations that they're a part of.
yeah,
So again, just being involved in things is what allows a lot of our clients to have that continued sense of not only social element, community element, sense of purpose, work into
yes,
something that feels a little bigger than yourself. I think that's key.
yes.
We've got lots of clients who do that, and especially this time of year, everyone's looking to give back as much as they can, and where better to give back than within your own community.
And we're
It's
honored to,
really
to get involved in that space. I mean, with the giving back,
Mhm.
we're honored to be able to facilitate that sometimes with our clients. We actually have opportunities where we'll do some volunteering and we'll invite clients to join us. And that's some of the most rewarding volunteering opportunities we do. I'm volunteering tomorrow at Johnson Brunetti. All of our employees have a requirement, not a option, a requirement to volunteer quarterly on our own. And then we have one quarter a year where we do a project together or a few projects, depending on the size. Our company's larger at this point. And then some of these times our clients get to come with us. We do an event with the House of Heroes group where we'll go out into a community and help somebody who is either serving or who has served or is a family member of somebody who has served in the armed forces and help to maybe build a house or beautify a home or help them with maintenance or what have you. And seeing clients get involved in that. In fact, I believe that is an organization that a client referred us to get involved with.
Mhm.
But what an awesome thing, and I think it all comes back to purpose. You mentioned that person, that client that you spoke with, who said, "I'm going to have a hard time spending in retirement,"
Yeah.
and that's a good problem to have because it means that you've probably been a good saver. But I think it also ties back to some of us we're so immersed in our working world that when that job is gone, finding what is it that I'm supposed to wake up and do today is a challenge. Nick, how have you seen that play out when you're talking to clients who maybe have a hard time finding purpose beyond their work?
Well, you got to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. That's
Yeah.
often my advice. It's easy for me to tell everyone they should just go buy a set of golf clubs because that's my easy answer, and I know that's what I'm going to be doing in retirement. But a lot of people don't like golf; they think it's boring. Like you, Jake, they think it's boring.
You and
Uh,
I have golfed
I'm
in a
always
foreign
inviting you to
country, no
golf.
less.
You're
Yeah.
never taking me up on it. But anyway, that's a conversation. We'll have that one another day. But again, just finding things. You talk about why I like golf, right? It's exercise. It requires concentration, and there's an element of skill there. could improve on that. But, I see that it brings me outside, right? It brings me into nature. So, whatever really calls to you. I
Yeah.
think of my wife, Julia, like she would hate the idea of golf. She would think it's a waste of 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yet being outside, and she loves, doing things that take skill and concentration, but it's just, different strokes for different folks. So,
No pun intended.
again, you have to, yeah, that's right. You have to just try on all these different things. There's no way to find out if you like things or not unless you actually give them a shot. So, the beauty of this day and age, there are communities, there are groups to get involved in this stuff in, and if you want to try something, it's really never been easier. One example of this is last Sunday I went to a yoga class. I didn't even think I could, bend over and touch my toes, and doing all these crazy poses in a yoga barn. But it was very cool. So, maybe I'll go back, TBD. But all I'm saying is that whether it's, things that you're doing for like physical challenges or, health and wellness goals, right? And these things come in all different shapes and sizes. It's just important to know that one, I mean, retirement could be just as long of a period in life as the one that you spent working.
Yeah.
So you need to find out where that sense of purpose and energy and really what gets you up in the morning is coming from. And oftentimes it comes down to family, right? Kids, grandkids. I think of one of my clients, Rose. She just retired. Her nieces and nephews, her family is basically all out in California. She lives here in Boston. So you can imagine they're not seeing each other that often. Well, she's now retiring. And one of her big objectives is she wants to spend a lot more time out there. And I'm not just saying go travel out there more, but maybe a month or two at a time, which is something she could never do when she had to, report to work every Monday. So very different ball game, folks. So again, you just want to have a plan in place. You want to know that there are places to go to have that sense of camaraderie, that sense of community, that social element, that sense of
Right.
continued learning. It's all very, very important in these later years.
And that's so true. Let me correct the record. I have golfed with Nick in multiple states and even in a foreign country once. So don't let him fool you into thinking that I'm boring. In fact, I'll regale you with a story in another time where he almost drove us off a cliff on a golf cart, but that's another story for another day. So what I've heard, in all seriousness, we've talked about travel. We've talked about family time. We've talked about maybe a hobby. We've talked about volunteering. We've talked about purpose. We've talked about community. I think having a community, having a purpose is so important. If your only community and your only purpose is the work that you do, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to have a hard time segueing into retirement in the traditional sense. If you think retirement equals I'm sipping Mai Tais on a beach in Florida 24 hours a day, you're probably going to drive yourself crazy. If you think it's always spending time on a golf course, it's going to drive people like Julia crazy. If you think it's always reading a book, it's going to drive people like Nick crazy.
Yeah.
And maybe, by the way, it's okay to redefine retirement as I work because I want to. I just no longer financially have to, right? We've got plenty of clients, and I think this is becoming more popular, where maybe they're business owners. Maybe they've always wanted to be a business owner. Maybe they want to work part-time because they love what they do. They just don't want to do it 40, 50, 60 hours a week. You define success. I think retirement boils down to I have the freedom to do what I want when I want, however that manifests itself. But what I would say is that make sure that you have purpose and you have community in that, because living on an island is a lonely place to be, and loneliness is one of the most challenging area to the mental health of those in retirement. We actually at Johnson Bernetti partner with a charity here in Connecticut about helping folks battle loneliness, because it can be a lonely thing in retirement if you don't have that purpose and community. So maybe you're listening to this, maybe you've gotten an idea Maybe you've thought about this, and this is an area that you just can't wait to get started. Or maybe that idea of transitioning into something new is intimidating entirely. We want to be able to equip you to make that transition as successful as possible. We have a resource, like we always do, that we'd be happy to send to you free of charge. It's called the Are You Ready to Retire Starter Kit. And it doesn't just talk about the money, it talks about the psychology, it talks about the purpose and the community, it talks about the health challenges and everything in between. If you'd like to get your hands on the Are You Ready to Retire Starter Kit, simply text the word KIT to 800-757-0436, and we'll send that kit your way. That information is in the show notes. Nick, let's transition really quickly, just 60 seconds, 120 seconds, before we get into our money, our mailbag minute, rather. Let's talk about, like, how is it that, simply put, that somebody can start thinking about, okay, I know what I want to do in retirement. I need to start thinking about practically, how can I afford it and how do I do it? How do we as advisors equip people to be able to use their money effectively to be able to do it?
Well, budgeting is important and nobody likes the B word, but you need to figure out exactly how much your life costs and then just, use an estimate for what all the other stuff will cost. If you ballpark, okay, year in and year out, I want to travel and I want to travel extensively. It's going to cost me, an extra $2,000 a month, an extra $24,000, $25,000 a year. We're having conversations, Jake, with clients about how to generate that money, how to make it available, and how to facilitate actually getting that to you. So many of the conversations I have with folks are, almost encouraging them to spend more money.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
We know a good thing when we see it. And oftentimes we're looking at folks' plans and it's very easy for us to look at something and dissect it and say, yes, you're in a really good spot. You have enough. You're going to be okay. It's not such an easy thing for someone to hear that and
Yeah.
really understand, the meaning behind those words and what we're trying to convey when we say that, when we tell someone they're okay. So it all comes down to just having an a plan, having an approach in place where you know exactly where you're going to go to get money, who you're going to call, right, to get money, and oftentimes that's us at Johnson Brunetti, and then we'll figure out the best place to take it from. And again, we never let people get too far off the rails, so to speak. If things are not looking so rosy anymore, we have to have those difficult conversations as well. Thankfully,
Yes.
they don't come up very often, but just know that you've got someone on your side, folks, when you're looking to enjoy this next phase of life, because that's what you saved for retirement for.
So if you have a specific vision in mind of what you want to be doing in retirement, maybe you don't know it all, but you just want to be able to understand, am I prepared for retirement? How much can I spend in retirement without hurting myself? Where should I take my money and at what time? How do I make sure I don't get hosed in taxes as I take that money out? What's the most efficient place to withdraw this and how do I get it? Those are the types of questions that we help people. And I think to Nick's point, we probably talk to people much more often about, you should be using your money more and this is how much you can use, versus you're spending too much money in retirement. Most of our clients are the first camp. And so that's probably the biggest honor that we have, is being able to help facilitate a happy, healthy retirement and you having the freedom to do what you want when you want it. Well, without further ado, let's head into the last segment of today's episode, our mailbag minute. We have 3 questions. We're going to rapid fire the answers your way from viewers like you who have sent these questions in. Our first question, Nick, it touches on Social Security spousal benefits, which can be confusing because there's survivor benefits, spousal benefits, the old file and suspend rule that doesn't exist anymore, all the things in between. Here's the question. Am I entitled to collect on my husband's Social Security as his monthly payment is $200 more than mine? My husband is 77 and I just turned 67.
No, unfortunately not. You will get your benefit. Your husband will get his benefit. The only way you are entitled to your husband's benefit is, God forbid, if something were to happen to him. In the event of the death of a spouse, the higher of the 2 benefits will continue for the survivor.
Ding, ding, ding. Next, number 2, we have another Social Security question. This is about working and claiming at the same time. What's the penalty if I claim my Social Security benefit early and earn more than the income limit?
Oh, so this one gets a little technical. There are certain income limits that if you are collecting Social Security prior to your full retirement age, which it sounds like this person is doing, if you earn money above and beyond that limit, they will actually begin to withhold $1 for every $2 of earnings above that limit. So as far as
Yeah,
what exactly the penalty is, just think above that limit, you're basically giving back half of your, a dollar per every $2 of earnings
that's right.
over that limit. So it's a pretty technical question. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head, but
It's around
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
24,000. It's around 24,000. If you're
Mhm.
taking Social Security early, you're going to get, not only is your benefit reduced, if you're taking it at 62, it's 30% less than if you were to take it at full retirement age. The limit in those years is $24,000 of earnings. If you earn above that, you're getting a 50 cent on the dollar penalty.
Mhm.
The year of your full retirement age, that 12 months prior, it's a higher earning limit of like 60 grand a year. And then after your full retirement age, you can earn all you want and
Earn as
collect.
much as you want. Right.
Should you is a different question. Can you?
Mhm.
Yes. Third question and final for the day. This is touching on how to put your RMDs, your required minimum distributions, to good use. How can I use my RMD for my granddaughter's college expenses?
Oh, good question. There's a few different answers here. One thing you can do, again, the IRS doesn't really care what you do with that money as long as you pay the taxes on it. That's why they force you to take it. So money comes out of an IRA, that's your required minimum distribution. The taxes go to the IRS and to the state treasury, and then you can really do whatever else you want with that. So you can invest it in just a general brokerage account, you can invest it in cash, put it in a place where it's, able to work a little harder for you. Or if you specifically want it to be invested for the purpose of college, funding down the road, you can establish a 529 plan, a college savings plan for the benefit of your granddaughter. And then you can be making contributions into that with the required minimum distributions that you're forced to take. That money can then grow tax deferred as long as it stays in the account. And if it comes out for either a 2 or a 4-year educational expense, 100% tax free. So you've got a lot of different options.
I love it. Well, hopefully today's episode, a little bit different flavor, talking about purpose, community, what to do in retirement and how to make the best use of that and how to plan for it. Hopefully today's episode has been helpful. If it has, give this video a like, share it with somebody who could find it helpful, and make sure to turn on notifications so you see the next episode. And hopefully today's Money Wisdom podcast powered by Johnson Brunetti has been helpful to you. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Johnson Brunetti is a marketing name for the businesses of JB Capital and JN Financial. Investment advisory services offered through JB Capital LLC. Insurance products offered through JN Financial LLC.